Welcome back to another episode of Card Talk, a podcast where we spend just a little bit of time talking about cons that happen in the Lord of the Rings community. I'm your host, Dave Walsh.
And I'm Ted Banach, and I love talking about Lord of the Rings conventions. Dave, bless me, I do.
Do you, Ted?
Yeah, I do. I'm excited. It's going to be a great show. It's going to be wonderful.
It's going to be a great show.
If you like hearing about conventions around Lord of the Rings, the card.
That's true. Yeah. So, as Ted said, this is going to be a little recap of Con of the Ring, kind of the annual North American convention that's solely dedicated to Lord of the Rings. But before we get started, I do want to take a moment and thank all the patrons. If you want to become a patron, support us. If you think that we are bringing value to your to the game or to your experience, feel free to go on over to patreon.com/cardtalk2018 and support us. You can also look at our blog for every episode that we put out about a card. We usually put out a written blog about the card itself. Matt over there helps us out doing all that stuff. And then we also have Second Breakfast, which is a bi-weekly, is that what it is? Every 2 weeks. Micah puts out a live stream of, usually he plays through, but just recently he went through and ranked all the heroes. So that was a pretty cool thing. So anyways, you see that every other Sunday on our YouTube channel. So we got a lot of people staying active and helping out in the community, helping out in Card Talk. And of course, Card Talk would be nothing without the community surrounding Lord of the Rings, which, separate from all the content creators, we have this Con of the Rings. And so it's a convention. It's a gaming convention. That was a good segue right there, right, Ted?
You did it. Yeah,
I did it really well. And so every year there's a group called the Free Men of the North. At this point, I think I've known them well enough to call them friends of mine. In the community, they've been doing it for 4 years now, where they have a convention and all you do all weekend long is play Lord of the Rings. And this year, unfortunately, I couldn't get there. I had a wedding. My niece got married, so
Dave. My family's the most important thing.
I know. You got to choose, and I chose.
You are free to choose.
I am free to choose, which is a card. Check out that episode, actually. Anyways, but our very own Ted Banach went there, and he wasn't even mad about it. And so, Ted, I'll be the moderator here because I don't know about this year. Maybe you can give us like a little overview there's a whole bunch of new players to the community. This is, what do I want to say? This is the new core set was released. So, a whole bunch of people, this may be the first time, or this may be the time that they're listening to this recap. So, tell us a little bit about the overall experience from somebody who has been to every single one.
I did miss 1 year though. I missed the first year.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I missed the first year and this year. Anyways, so, okay, then give me a recap of somebody who's been to 3 of the 4 Con of the Rings.
So Con of the Rings, it's a fan-held convention, and the folks that do it, the Free Men of the North, active community members, they hosted in Roseville, Minnesota at the Game Center, which is the Asmodee FFG. It's FFG / Asmodee headquarters, or the FFG headquarters now owned by Asmodee.
The FFG headquarters is across the road, and the Game Center used to be associated with it, but now it's its own thing.
Yeah.
But it's right there. Roseville, Minnesota is right where FFG has the people who publish the game. That's where they have their headquarters.
Yeah.
Right there.
And inside the Game Center, they have a a very large gaming space for just open gaming, a game library. They got a shop with new releases, supplies. They have a kitchen as well that serves food and beverages. And then they have a separate room where you can hold private events. And that's where Con of the Rings is held. And this year there was, I want to say like 110-ish attendees, something like that, which comfortably fit inside that room. There's definitely room for more. And it's 3 wholesome days of Lord of the Rings, the card game.
It is, here's what I'll do is I'll talk about what I know usually happens, and you can say whether this is what happens. So, usually there's a couple of cycles. Back in the original packaging of the game was released in cycles, which for anybody who's new to the game, that would be the whole campaign pack that you get, like the Angmar Awakens campaign set. That's one whole cycle. So, so this year, what were the 2 featured cycles of the con?
Yeah, so what they do is they pick the cycles, and then they post this big board to sort of, you don't have to play them through in that order, but generally people do, or skip ones that are too difficult because you beat your head against the wall trying to defeat them. But it was the 3rd cycle, which is the Ringmaker. No, excuse me.
Heirs of Numenor.
It's that. But now I'm forgetting the name. And the 4th cycle, which is the Ringmaker cycle. Against the Shadow.
Against
Cycles
the Shadow
3 and
cycle.
4.
Right. Heirs of Numenor was what the deluxe box was called. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I'm sorry.
So those were the 2 focused on. And then they generally splash in 1 or 2 print-on-demand quests that may or may not have been released around that time frame. And additionally, it's just a time to get together and play through those cycles together. And the crew will also the community will work on creating challenges for those specific quests. So if you're a veteran player, you can try to make it harder, by starting with certain cards in play that usually don't start in play, or, certain cards getting certain bonuses, like more threat rating or more archery, just to see if you can defeat that challenge. And then you can go and kind of sign your name to it that you've completed it.
Right. So usually each scenario will have 2 different accomplishments. You can play it plainly. You could play it like it was meant to be played, or you could do something, sometimes it'll, require you to not play events, or, like there's all sorts of different things that can happen, no cancellation. I don't know. So, what it does is it just makes it more interesting, so that if you've played Against the Shadow cycle a million times, 2, 3, 4 player, now you have another hurdle to overcome in this convention that, like, everybody, here's the way that we were able to do it. It kind of gives everybody a chance to, like, talk about it a little bit. It gives it, like, another, point of discussion for people.
Yeah. Additionally, too, there's some global achievements that aren't tied to a specific quest. One that I remember doing on the last day was called Monochromatic. So sort of a theme to the 3rd cycle of the game was, at the time, they were developing and encouraging monosphere decks in the game. And even some of the quests would penalize you for having multiple spheres in your deck. So one of the global achievements was to play a 4-player game and have every single player play a monosphere deck. Right? They didn't have to be all different, though. That's what I did. Right. We had one from each sphere in a 4-player game, but you could be playing, 4 mono lore decks together if you fancy.
We did that. I did that my first con, as we played the monochromatic one, and we all played tactics decks. We were like, which is a challenge because tactics can't quest. It's always hard, but we had, Theoden on the board, so at least we had his bonus. So,
Yeah,
anyways,
and it's so fun because you're just trying to meet people, play the game. It gives you a chance to meet people that maybe you've met online and played with or talked with. You get to meet them in person, which is always very, very fun. They also, the convention itself has a raffle going on. You get entries just by going. You don't have to do anything special. They would draw names, and they'd have great prize supports, such as quests, alternate art cards. So a lot of fun things on top of. They also have these climatic quests where they would sort of pick a time for everybody to play the same quest, and usually it was something that was sort of like important to the cycle. Like a lot of times, like the end of cycles were kind of big and climatic because they were finishing off the storyline. So those were kind of fun because then even though everybody wasn't playing together, everybody was also, beating their head against the wall trying to beat the same scenario.
right.
So you could see your neighbors also struggling alongside you,
Right.
which was fun.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest benefit is just going, like, the Lord of the Rings community is always so scattered around the world, but I feel like it's one of the best gaming communities out there. There's hardly any trolls out there, and so the biggest draw for me is to just be hanging out with 100 people that just love playing Lord of the Rings, and you can get real deep into the game and just, you're just having fun playing the game.
Yeah, it's fun to be in a room with 100 friends.
Right. Yes. And like people who know you, and it's just it's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, we had some highlights too. I'll talk about so Card Talk highlights. We had a special patron Card Talk game. Two of our highest level supporters were there, and we had a special game. So call out to Vardane and Arctic Dragon, also known as Justin, and we had a special Ready Teddy game, and
that's good.
They called me Ready Teddy every chance that they could, and I couldn't even get mad about it. I wasn't even mad, Dave.
There was no anger at all.
I was there in person playing games with our friends and supporters. That was a highlight.
That's always good. Oh man, I can't. Yeah, I still can't believe that those guys did that. And that's awesome. If you want to become a Ready Teddy level supporter, all it does, you just have to give $20 1 month. Doesn't even matter if you stay a supporter at that level. You just give $20 1 month. They did it for like a month, and that was it. And it was
for lifetime membership.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. There's 3 people that are part of it.
So that was very, very fun, and it's so great to sit down, play, and it's a really great opportunity too if you're a solo player. So there are people that come and they've only played solo, they only play 2-player, and now they're playing 3-player, 4-player. It's a very different experience for them. Yeah, looking at you, Dave. So you get to do the same thing, get to experience the madness of 4 players. And it's so wild because I think a highlight of the con for me is like I got to play a game, and thanks to the other players I was playing with, I was playing a deck with Grimbjorn, and he had acquired Orc Crest through a Burglar's Turn.
Okay.
And it was pretty great because he killed 23. He blocked 23 enemies and killed 23 enemies in a single turn.
How did that happen? Did he have light the beacons or something? And and then
Hour of Wrath.
Hour of Wrath, right?
So Hour of Wrath gave him infinite actions, and Orc Crest gave him infinite resources.
There it is.
He blocked every single enemy in a 4-player game, which amounted to 23 in Blood of Gondor.
Which is one you needed in, right?
Yeah. We were also going for an achievement in the game. One of the achievements for Blood of Gondor. So if you haven't played that quest, it has a mechanic where you are forced to take these hidden cards, which are encounter cards from the top of the deck. And if they end up at certain points of the game, you get to choose, or you're forced to reveal them. And if they're enemies, they end up engaging you. And one of the challenges was one player had to get 10 hidden cards at one time. and I had 13 before I flipped all mine. And
you
everybody had many.
and you
Yeah,
flipped the table too.
it was crazy, and we came out of it. But just interactions that I would never have in a
Right.
2-player game, like when he blocked 23 times. Like,
Yeah, who does that? Right.
Like,
right.
it only happens when you at these types of conventions. So
Right.
very fun.
And if it's not you, it's somebody else that makes history. Like 23 defenses. So I thought you may have been playing with Grimbjorn. Were you playing with Bob, or were you playing with the hero Grimbjorn?
I was using hero Grimbjorn.
You were using
Grimbjorn the old was there.
Okay.
Bob, known around the community as
right.
Grimbjorn the old.
Right.
There were fans of all ages come to play.
Grimbjorn, last I knew, he was 73 years old playing this game. Loves this game.
Well, orcs are still terrified of him.
Yeah.
I can tell you that.
Right. That's amazing. So how many were you playing 4-player, that Blood of Gondor game?
That particular one was 4-player.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Played it with
23 defenses and 23
call it
kills.
Mr. Space Bear for playing with me
Space Bear
in that game, and Mrs. Salted Pork.
Mrs. Salted Pork. Chrissy.
Chrissy, yep.
Friends of the show, of course. Thank you so much, everybody.
And it's the only weird thing is when you go to is so everyone has a name badge, and everyone will print their, or most people will. I don't think I saw any without it. People will print their online handles. You can put it on the badges when you sign up.
Right.
But it's crazy because you got like 2 names to remember for everybody. You're trying to.
Right. I always try to call people by their real names. That's always been my thing, because I was not born unto the gaming community. Like I didn't know Discord existed for a long time until I started doing this, so like when I see Mr. Space Bear, I know him as Nate,
right.
I don't have a problem calling him Mr. Space Bear, but it's just what
yes,
Salted Pork, that's Bob and Chrissy, I want to know their real names, that's it. The only person I think I will always call by their handle is C-Stan, who you ended up driving to and from the con with, right? How was that?
Yeah. Well, hey, we're all enemies of Sauron here.
Right.
We are. Which podcast we're from.
Right.
So, I got to carpool with C-Stan as well as Space Bear and Bob and Chrissy, the Salted Porks.
Right. Mr.
duo.
and Mrs. Pork.
Mr. and Mrs. Pork, which is great because again, you just spend some more time with some like-minded folks talking about. Sometimes you talk about the game, and sometimes we're talking about other Lord of the Rings stuff or nothing Lord of the Rings, just about life or TV shows or whatever.
Right.
So it was very, very fun. But speaking of C-Stan, I will mention at the convention there is. Mention of the convention?
Mention of the convention.
Historically, there is a massive or epic multiplayer game. Mm-hmm. The epic multiplayer scenarios they're always played every year, to my knowledge, in some fashion. They pick a quest. And there's only so many published by Asmodee Fantasy Flight. And for those of you familiar with the works of Alep, Along Extended Party, the kind of the Rings folks had sort of worked with them, and the epic multiplayer quest was actually a custom player design quest by Alep, which is a community of gamers working to make new player cards and new player encounters, new encounter decks and scenarios. It was called The Nine Are Abroad. So if you want to get more information on that, you can check out Alep's website. But it was a very fun thematic scenario where each individual table, you were trying to explore a map of Middle Earth looking for clues as to where the ring wraiths were. Are they in Mirkwood? Are they in Bree? Encountering different locations and enemies during your travels. And it's still played, you still have the regular, it's still a normal game. They still designed it with, flipping over encounter cards, treacheries, enemies, locations, but it had sort of this neat map mechanic where your fellowship or party would move from one part of Middle Earth to another looking for these clues. And then it all culminated together to fight the ring wraiths once you find them. So it was very fun.
See, I can't call them the ring wraiths. I got to call them by their actual names. Bob, Fred, Jose.
Right.
That's their names.
Yeah. Tim.
Tim. Right. Anyways, no, it sounds great. I will say, I know that we don't talk Alep a ton on the show, but I know that their quests are particularly well play tested, and they're particularly well loved around the community as quests that can further the LCG world. They're really well thought out and well put together.
Yeah, this one was really, really tremendous. So kind of have when you get some custom content hitting the table or player designed content, I'd say just kind of have an open mind to it. And pretty much the whole convention played it at the same time.
Right.
Like 100 people or something. Like there were 3 separate games. Actually, you know what? So not the entire convention was playing this one, like Dreadnought. There were actually 3 separate games going on at the same time.
So like 30, 30, and 30.
Yeah, each, because the way that it was designed is there was a maximum of 9 groups.
Could
play.
Okay, that makes sense.
So there were actually 3 groups of. They weren't all completely full, but there was a full one of 9, one of 8, and I think one of 7.
Okay,
I was in.
That's cool.
But yeah, everyone I think had a really great time. So really great time to get to the convention if you can make it. It's usually always in the October, like end of September, first weekend of October time frame is what they aim for.
It's always the first week in October. That's what they always. It's the week before Arkham Knights. So and they try to get that done and in. So
Con of the Rings MN, like in Minnesota. Con of the Rings NMN.com for more information. So they got a newsletter, and you can sign up for, which is, if you're interested in getting news, I advise it, because then you know like when tickets are going on sale and when the achievements are made, and you get updates as it gets scheduled.
Sure. Well, I mean, Ted, it would be silly to sit here and talk about the con in general if you don't give me some specifics about what went on. So you got there on Friday, and you left Sunday?
Yeah. So that's when the convention officially starts, is Friday morning when the convention center opens at 10 usually, and then it goes through Sunday when the game center closes at around, I think it closes at 6. A lot of people show up the day before. People will show up throughout Thursday.
I don't want to know about what other people do. I want to know about you. So so did you get there on Friday right then and there, and did you start playing right away? And
we got in Thursday. I got in Thursday night, my carpool of folks, and as is tradition, usually you are the one who twists my arm into playing a game at like 11 p.m.
right,
or midnight.
I know.
But someone else took up that task, and I put some cards on table at like
some stupid
Friday,
hour,
12:01 a.m.
Yeah.
Started in the lobby of the hotel,
right? Which is great because there's a lobby, there's a hotel which is within walking distance, so you don't have to like Uber anywhere. You can literally, and the hotel's always super nice about letting us just take over the lobby. They just they do that anyway.
Even when they have other things going on like weddings.
Yes, that was last year. There was that
There
wedding.
was another
that was
wedding there too on
Oh
Saturday
yeah,
night.
yeah. I remember the drunk bride came out and started playing with us. I thought she was gonna. Like I don't know. It was fine. Anyways, so
Yeah.
Saturday, Friday night, or Friday early morning, you're playing, and then you went to bed and wake up and.
Yeah, and tried to people will play in the lobby too, or early in the morning, because some people will get breakfast, and then if the center doesn't open until 10, people are up before that, so they'll be playing. I played a game, I think in the morning actually before, and I didn't. The interesting thing is, right when people want to get there right when it opens at 10 a.m. so they can hop inside, but I was already playing a game, and it's like, this game's almost done and it's 10 o'clock. Might as well just finish it, because I'm only gonna leave the hotel to go play more cards, which I'm already doing right now.
Right.
So, and yeah, it was just days of cards, and I got to see folks online. I got to play with Peace and Thought John, who was formerly of the Con of the Rings crew. He's no longer on the planning committee, but he still went as an attendee. So that was very fun. And yeah, we just kind of hung around and scheduled games.
That's good.
People asked for games, and I tried to meet up with as many people as I could.
Did they have shirts this year?
They did, yeah. So when you sign up, you have the option to buy shirts, and the shirts are designed to be thematic or resemble the cycles that were played.
Right.
And I wasn't sure if I was going to buy some this year, but then I saw the designs.
And you're
I was like,
I got it.
These are cool. And like, one's on like a purple shirt and one's on like a gray, which are like the colors of the packs.
Right.
Like the color scheme was like representative of the cycle.
Right.
So that was amazing. And then they also, the Con of the Rings crew also had a pack of cards to hand out, and it was all the challenges printed on these player cards, as well as some fan-made alternate arts of all the heroes from both cycles.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. How do I get my hands on that?
You just publicly ask for them on a podcast. You say, "Dear Con of the Rings, mail Dave a leftover pack."
Dear Con of the Rings, please mail me.
Yeah. They got an email address, and I don't know, maybe they had some left over. Maybe we'll get lucky.
I know that they sell them sometimes.
Yeah, so there were some shirts left over, and they were selling shirts on the last day, because they always tend to order extra for people that want to pick them up. And I stayed the convention almost, I think, until not quite so close, but almost until they shut down, before we had to hit the road and drive back through.
Sunday's usually the travel day. People show up early and are excited, but then everybody kind of trickles out on Sunday, and then I think last year I closed the event because I wasn't leaving until Monday morning, but I think that there was like 6 people left by Sunday night at 6 o'clock.
So. Other people do that. Yeah, people are still playing games Sunday night in the hotel.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, there's still people left, but it's good. Yep. Yeah. Wow. Ted,
so it was great.
Did you record any of your wins and losses? Did you keep track of your score?
I didn't want to be sad, so I didn't.
You were getting away from the sad.
I can tell you that the cycles, unfortunately, as fun as those cycles are, they have a lot of cards that I liked it when I'm there. I like to play multiplayer. I like to play 3 and 4 player because you have the opportunity to do it. But some of the earlier cycles, like the third one especially, the treachery cards scale poorly.
Mm-hmm. Is that the one with the Master's Malice?
Master's Malice is in there. That's the one that punishes you for having multiple spheres.
Right. Yep.
There's also a card called Watcher in the Woods.
Yep.
Which is in the third cycle. and it has this crazy text like each player has to raise their threat by the number of questing characters. So if you get that like
playing
first
4-player,
right,
you're
you could it would come out and it would easily be like 12 threat raise for each player in the game.
right.
Like it would just threat people out if it couldn't be canceled or
right.
countered in some fashion.
Right. Right. Spirit Paragon. No, wait. What's the one if when you raise your threat by the encounter deck, lower your threat by what? Free to choose.
That's
right.
free to choose.
Yeah.
So if you raised your threat by 12, you'd play free to choose and then lower your threat by 12.
Well, but that doesn't help the other 3 people you're playing.
No, it doesn't. So yeah, and then there were just other.
Well, I mean,
card combinations.
Admittedly, the designers did say or have said that that those cycles were, still in the, we're trying to figure it out. Let's be honest. That Lord of the Rings was one of the very first collectible card games that was designed like this. So they had
certainly it was the first cooperative one,
right? That was a cooperative card game. So there was a lot of kinks that they were working out. They had a great system to work on with what Nate French put together, but then you're working out the kinks, and understandably so. You try something new and you play test it and you try to see if it works, and then. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it misses, but as long as it's fun, they're decent quests.
Oh yeah, they're fun. I love the theme of it. It's got some neat mechanics to both of them, both cycles as well. But sometimes you would just have a really, really terrible start, and you're like, well, we're gonna start over because we're just gonna lose. So let's just start over. See if we can get a better start, and then you tend to have a better experience.
Right.
Rather than just kind of.
There was some of those mulligan as many times as you want until you get a Testicle in your hand, or mulligan as many times as you want until you get Steward of Gondor in your hand, or that's that was famous in this cycle when it was or against the Shadow cycle I'm thinking of, and then the Ringmaker cycle is all the time mechanics, and those are I don't know if I've said this publicly, but they were just very heavy-handed on the time mechanic. Like, I think it could have been on, one of the quest cards, or a couple of the locations, but it seemed like everything had time on it, and so it was like, okay, this is how you're gonna make people not turtle, and so,
yeah, the design, I get the design, but yeah, maybe. That's an appropriate term. Heavy-handed. So it was tough, but yeah, you're there to have fun and play. So yeah, if someone takes an extra mulligan, whatever.
It's a cooperative game. Whatever, right?
there's no Lord of the Rings police.
Right. The SWAT team comes out of the ceiling and is like, hut, 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 hut.
It's good to know the rules, and I definitely advise playing by the rules and knowing them. But even if you break them or modify them, as long as you're having fun and everyone agrees to do that, then that's it. That's the reason you're there.
Right. 100%. I think that I've never heard anybody having a bad experience at Con of the Rings.
I haven't heard of it, and hopefully it doesn't exist.
If I haven't heard it, it does not exist.
Does not exist.
That's right. Right.
But I think everyone there had a good time. So
yeah, that's great. I mean, it just seemed like a normal Con of the Ring, a normal Con of the Rings. If you've never been to a con or a gaming convention, then that's I don't know if normal is a good word to describe it, but when you're in a group of 100 some odd people who are all very passionate about the game that you are passionate about, it's that it's going to be a great weekend. You
Yeah.
know?
I'll do another special call out to the online handle, the Purple Wizard, Joe, who has also appeared on our show, who has actually, he's done some custom content as well, designing epic multiplayer quests that are sort of modified versions of existing quests to be epic multiplayer. And I had to go see it with my own eyes. He was playing a Perilous Voyage deck that was 1,000 cards.
1,000 card Perilous Voyage deck?
Yeah, yeah.
What is
there are some players who enjoy having large sized decks. 100, 150, 200. I've seen that before, but I have not seen 1,000. So he had to carry it in this very large box. And
how do you even shuffle 1,000 cards?
Well, you carefully and longly. He had it shuffled in front of him, and it was basically like 5 separate piles of cards because you couldn't. You couldn't stack it on one.
Right.
It was going to tip over.
Jenga over, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that was a highlight for me as well. And that's the kind of the stuff that happens.
Right. You see all these weird things, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird in a good way, right? It's all
exactly.
weird. And I think that, I think on the most basic level, just surrounding yourself with people who have the same passion as you for the game is probably the best medicine there is. Like it's just a lot of fun.
And there were some people do play other games in the past. I've seen some role playing. This year I saw
One Ring RPG gets played.
One Ring RPG. Yep, some of it's Lord of the Rings theme, but some of it's not. I saw some people playing the Marvel Champions LCG as well. Just because there are fans from both, and some people bring both cards, or there could have been other board games and things going on too that I just didn't see. But it happens just because you're around. People will discuss that ahead of time. Say, oh, hey, let's schedule this time to play this board game because, again, people are there.
Right.
That have a similar interests as you.
Right.
So that also happens too, which is very fun.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, Ted, do you have any last gasps for the con before we close out the show?
No, not really. Just check out the Con of the Rings website if you can. Check out Longest Time at Party if you're interested in some new player-made quests and player-made cards. And farewell, free peoples of Middle-earth. I bid you good wishes.
Okay, so there you have it, everybody. Ted with a dramatic exit. And I can't outdo that, so everybody, have a great day. We'll see you next week.
Do you love the content? Here's what you can do to stay connected. Become a patron. The money collected through Patreon goes into keeping the lights on here at the podcast. We love our patrons, and you can join at many different levels. Visit patreon.com/cardtalk2018. You can subscribe to us, whether you're watching our YouTube channel or you're listening to us in your favorite podcatcher. Hit the subscribe button to get notifications of all our new episodes. Didn't know we were an audio podcast? Find us by searching Card Talk to get access to our 120 plus regular episodes. Didn't know we were a video channel? Find us by searching Card Talk LOTR LCG on YouTube. And there you can find not only our regular episodes, but you can find our bonus playthroughs and other content related to the game. Want to get a hold of Ted, Grant, or myself? Feel free to email the podcast at cardtalk2018@gmail.com.